I grew up in a thriving, loving United Methodist church. I remember fondly my communion classes. I taught vacation Bible school and church picnics with fellow parishioners. We had the best church picnics. I have etched in my memory the choir, the man who greeted us every weekend, the treats at coffee hour and my little hands reaching over the table to them, and my approachable, down-to-earth minister. I left my hometown to attend college in Worcester, and truthfully, I didn't think a lot about church for years. By the time I really started to consider going back, the world had changed. I'd become personally acquainted with, and like many ally friends, empathetic to the cause of civil rights for LGBTQ individuals. Specifically, the lack of inclusivity within the United Methodist Church was very problematic for me. I distinctly remember crying when I heard about the ouster of Reverend Frank Schaefer of Pennsylvania in 2013. He was removed from the UMC for marrying his gay son. I married my college sweetheart, and in 2010, we had our little Peanut that you all know so well. Crazy hair. I still didn't think of church. My mom asked me when we were going to get AJ baptized. She was extremely concerned about this situation, and I told her it wasn't our thing. That's actually very true for my husband, Jim. He has a very, very novel church background. He worshiped as a child in a rural convent in New Hampshire, where just a few families gathered around a fireplace with no shoes on. And when he later experienced the Catholic Church outside of that setting, he quickly realized church was not his thing. For me, the answer was a lot more complicated. I just didn't know what was next. I didn't know where I belonged. I wasn't really comfortable going back to the UMC. Then came the story that you all know so well, the war on Christmas, in our little town of Sterling. I won't belabor the story you've all heard before, but it's true that an embarrassing episode in town history led me to my own personal heaven on earth. The part of the story you don't know is that this very same week of Principal Cipro's decision to suggest Elf on the Shelf did not belong in the classroom, stigmatizing a beloved Christmas symbol, wonderful teaching was going on at the Houghton School. Respectful, balanced learning. Regardless of the upheaval, the teachers were fine. The kids were totally fine. AJ's friend Claire, her mom came in and taught about Hanukkah, and we played dreidel over dinner. And AJ looked at me with surprise in his eyes, and he said, "Mom, did you know that Christmas is about the birth of the baby Jesus?" And I realized very quickly that I had really erred in my teaching of Christmas as a holiday. As a church-going child and a lover of the Bible, I was pretty embarrassed. So he asked if we could go to a church. So I met Robin the same week just by accident as we tried to save Sterling from itself. I called the reporter seeking end-of-days type stories about our snowflake town and offered that Robin should speak to Fox 25. I showed up in the pews the next weekend. And I cried through the whole welcome. I think I cried through most of the service. I told Janice McLean afterwards that it was allergies in December. But I knew I had found a community that I wanted to be a part of. The vote to officially become open and affirming was so moving to watch. My parents have accompanied AJ and I to church several times since we've joined, and they've always been surprised by how full the pews are and the number of young families specifically. The Methodist church of my childhood, of which my parents are still extremely involved, is flailing. There are no young families, and there's an unsustainable balance sheet. There's no people to step in and lend a hand, and they are at risk of closing in the next year or two. I believe that being open and affirming and the true welcome that is offered here is a huge reason for that. Amen. Say what you will about millennials. I struggle with the term myself as I fall on the cusp, but we are an empathetic bunch. Many of you likely know the Methodist Church is meeting this week to decide their future, and I do ask for you to keep them in your prayers. May they also find their way to the right side of history. I brought my friends, a lot of them. It's been accidental each time. I've started to joke that I'm the non-evangelical evangelist, but I love to tell people about First Church in Sterling. We have a really special thing here. AJ and I have loved most especially the feeling of being such a part of a caring and diverse community. We moved to Sterling 3.5 years ago, but finding and joining First Church was a thing that made it feel like home for me. From serving our community during monthly lunches, to caroling at a local nursing home, This place offers a wealth of opportunity to put our faith into action. And 'tis the season for stewardship. In this season, my testimony is specifically about church giving and how we all give back and contribute to this place that creates our own personal heaven on earth. I sit on outreach, which allows me particular exposure to the good work of First Church in our community and beyond. Donations to many wonderful organizations, funding of the monthly lunches. I also teach spirit play, which has taught me so much about the Montessori method and framing questions for children in a way that allows them to extract their own meaning and individualized learning from a story. I pledge, as we all do, to ensure we can keep all of those important programs and many more thriving. That is the exact thing that makes a church thrive. Not just the service on Sunday, not just our wonderful staff we're so lucky to call ours. What makes First Church thrive is the collective efforts of all of us. Our commitment to make heaven on earth. It takes showing up, it takes lending a hand, it takes money, and it takes all of us showing grace to each other and the world.
Preach!